Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, we from group 5. We will present the result of our discussion with the title phonology. Uh, Before I'm going to introducing my members. First, I'm Farhan. The second is Restu Dwi Astuti. The third is Miralda Putri. The fourth is Ingrid Rehana. The fifth is Naufal Ailshah. Okay, the meaning of first the meaning of phonology we will be explained by Restu Dwi Astuti. Time is yours.
Okay guys, I will to explain of phonology. What is phonology? Phonology is defined as the study of sound, pattern, and their meanings, both within a course language. An example of phonology is the study of different sounds and the way they come together to form speech and words, such as comparison of the sound of two P sounds in pop art. The next material of Farhan.
Okay, the next will be explained by me. The function of phonology. There are three functions of phonology. The first is to find out the sound change in a word. The second is learn about the process of sound formation, delivery, or pronunciation. The third is studying how the organ of the human body work, especially those related to the use of language. Okay, the next material will be explained by Ingrid Rehana.
Okay, I will explain in phonological rules. Phonological rules type is composite of eight types. What are phonological rules? Phonological rules are part of communication through language, whether spoken or written, and knowing what they are and why they exist can help us better understand our world. Number two, the idea behind phonological rules. Generative phonologists who have worked extensively with phonological rules work on the basic assumption that every speaker has a mental collection full of abstract entries of phonological form in his or her head. These abstract struct entries are underlying representation and serve as input for the phonological rules. The underlying from then undergo a derivational process which is defined by the phonological rule. The output of the process is the phonetic representation of the pronunciation. Number three, generative theory. Generative phonology is the application of generative grammar of phonology. Generative means rules that will be describe possibilities in the language, grammar, or phonology. They are developed the analyze phonological system of language around the world. The goal of this theory to make precise and explicit the ability of native speakers to produce and perceive or understand utterance of a particular language. Number four, type of phonological rules. Type of phonological rules is number one, assimilation. Hyman states the assimilation refers to all additive modification of a segment in a chain of segment by a neighboring segment. According to Drive, assimilation is process where one sound causes an adjacent sound to be more similar to itself. Type of assimilation. Number one, distinctiveness and stability of change. And the explain is number one, phonetic. Number two, phonemics assimilation is often referred to. And the type of assimilation, the second is direction of change. Assimilation can be progressive or regressive. And next, dissimilation. This type of rule is often seen among people speaking of language that is not their native language, where the sound contrast may be difficult, so the rule is applied for ease of production and perception. And the last, and next, deletion, when a sound such as a stressless syllable or a weak consonant is not pronounced. For example, most American English speakers don't pronounce the in handbag and in condom and key in now. And the next material will explain with Noval. Noval, take your time.
Okay, thank you, Restu. So let me continue materi by Restu. So the next is insertion. Insertion is to be two basic reason for insertion, preventing cluster of consonant that violate syllables and structure constrain the language, and easing transition between segment and have multi complement. Insertion at the beginning is observed in Spanish, where the language does not permit onset cluster. The next is metathesis. Is phonological process that change the order of phonemes, like Old English vs contemporary English, that has a change about the word, like asterisk be asterisk, and comfortable be comfortable, and integral be integral. And next is optional and obligatory rule. Some scholars make distinction between optional phonological rule and obligatory one, in sense that the former might or might not apply in individual speak, such as palation, friction dissimulation, voiceless stop insertion, deletion, and they contribute to rate or style of speak, dialect variation, where the letters are applied in the speak or all speaker. And next is characteristic. Hayes in 2009 make a list following characteristic that all phonological rules have in. 1. Language specificity. A phonological rule that is present in one language or even in all dialects of a given language. 2. Productivity phonological rule apply even to new word. 3. Untaught and unconscious. They acquire the rule early in life without any explicit teaching. And the last is intuitive. The rule gives speaker intuition about what word are well formed or acceptable. And the last material is functional phonological rule. Phonological rule have a number of functions. 1. Change in a feature or value. 2. Add a new feature, distinctive on or non-distinctive. Expression in English. 3. Dialect segment, contractual rule in English. 4. Add segment. And 5. Reorder segment. 6. Phonological rule often refers to entire class of sound rather than to the individual sound. conclusion, a phonetical rule is a method for describing the way which individual sounds are produced in spoken language. By studying the way that particular phonetical rule operate in spoken language, linguistics are able to determine the physiological and neurological mechanisms that translate mental language into spoken language. So that our material has been we discussed. Let me give back to Farhan.
Okay. The next material will be explained by Miralda Putri. Okay, time is yours, Miralda.
Okay, I will explain about example of phonology. An example of phonology is the study of the movements the body goes through in order to create sounds, such as the pronunciation of the letter T in bed, where the vocal cords stop vibrating because the T sounds to be a result of the placement of the throat behind the teeth and the flow of air. Okay, I will give back to Farhan.
Okay. That's the presentation and the result of our discussion. Sorry if there are mistakes, and thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oke. Udah kan?